Hello and welcome to Talking Bottom. I'm Matt Brooks.
I'm Ange Pearson.
And I'm Paul Tanter.
Today's guest... Oh.
I'm Roger Sloman.
We're just going to do a bit of an intro for you, Roger. So
okay, fine. Sorry, I'll shut up then.
It's all right.
Well, we'll leave all this in. That's fine. Today's guest originally trained to be a teacher. Luckily, he ditched that and went on to become an actor, whose face has graced our screens in many different roles we're all familiar with and are a firm part of British culture. As an accomplished stage actor, he's performed in Much Ado About Nothing, Henry IV, Henry V, Richard II, The Iceman Cometh, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, What the Butler Saw, and The Magistrate. His screen credits include, but are not limited to, Nuts in May, Ripping Yarns, The Sweeney, Grange Hill, Kevin Turvey, The Man Behind the Green Door, Blackadder, A Kick Up the 80s, The Comic Strip Presents, Private Enterprise, Press Gang, Bergerac, Mr. Bean, The British Empire, Goodnight Sweetheart, Family Affairs, Inside Number 9, Man Down, The Young Ones, and, as we have mentioned numerous times on this podcast, he plays the comb-over sporting dodgy landlord, Mr. Harrison, in 2 episodes of Bottom. Roger Sloman, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you talking Bottom with us today.
Well, it's nice to be here. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thank you. We'd like to begin with how you got started as an actor. What was it that appealed to you and how did you find your way into the industry?
Oh, my goodness. I can tell you, I didn't start acting till I was in the sixth form, and I had a stutter when I was at school. So I think I was never in a play, and then I was in a play, and it went very well. And then I went off to teachers training college, and I realised I didn't want to be a teacher. So as soon as that came to an end, I went off and applied to drama school, and that's how I got started.
What were you teaching as a teacher, or what did you train to teach as?
I was doing primary school teaching, actually, towards the end. I started off wanting to be an English teacher in secondary schools, but then I sort of gravitated towards being a primary school teacher. I had a few hairy experiences with my secondary school teaching practices. They weren't very nice to me, and I thought, I think I'm going to do primary. But then you used to get these pink forms to fill in your application to be a teacher, and everybody was filling them in, and I was filling in applications to drama school. So that's how I started, basically. And then when I finished, I went to East 15 acting school, and then when I was 3 years there, and then I got the most amazing start. I went to the Liverpool Everyman when it was in its heyday with Alan Dosser in 1970. And I did about 4 years in rep, and then I came to London and started to get into television. And, this was in the days when the rep was up and functioning, and it was marvellous. And it was a great start, Totally different to what it is now, because folks come out of drama school and they go into television to film straight away.
Yeah, of course. So in the Liverpool Everyman days, I'm from the Wirral, so I know Liverpool Everyman very well. I'm very, very. I'd love to have been around to enjoy that time. But could you tell us a bit then? Obviously, because we're talking about the comedy kind of scene. How did you get involved with the comic strip team and alternative comedy then from the 80s?
Well, basically through Kick Up the 80s, I got involved in both series of Kick Up the 80s, and Rick was doing Kevin Turvey. That was the first thing that he did. And we got on very well and so on. And so then when he started doing the comic strip, the young ones, I was asked to be in that, which I was really chuffed about, actually, And so it was the young ones, Bottom, comic strip, Lenny Henry. I did the Lenny Henry show, So I got into that stream in the 80s, basically.
Fantastic. So it was the Kick Up the 80s when you first met Rick, certainly, and then.
Oh yeah, because he was doing Kevin Turvey, and my eyes popped out my head because he used to be rewriting it up until the moment that he recorded it, and we'd all been rehearsing our sketches, and I thought, this blimey, he's got some chutzpah, and then once he started to go into other ththings, I got invited along, which was very nice.
So your first impressions of Rick then was it of a sort of, wow, look at this guy, he's able to do it almost effortlessly, or?
I don't know about effortlessly, but I thought he had some flipping. Well, I thought he had some cajones, put it that way.
And think he talked about his journeys quite a lot, didn't he? And his large prowess. Wonderful. Did you ever see Rik and Ade perform at that time? Then, obviously, around like kind of the Dangerous Brothers and live at the.
No, I hadn't. No, I kind of wished I had. Looking back, really, that would have been great. No, I hadn't. I mean. I didn't know anything about their Manchester days, and all of that. I didn't sort of hook up, and of course I didn't hook up with Ade until the young ones, really.
Right. Wonderful. And so, tell us a bit about Kevin Turvey then. Like, what were your first impressions of that character?
I was slightly blown away by it because I thought it was totally original, and I thought he was really brave with the way he did it, and I thought it stood out really, especially as the first series of Kick Up the 80s was a little bit kind of not as out there as the second series. The first series had Richard Stilgoe, and then the second series had Robbie Coltrane. So and I think Rick just stood out with what he was doing, really.
What were you doing on there, Roger? Because I have to confess, I haven't seen all of the Kick Up the 80s. Were you a sketch group?
Kick Up the 80s was basically a sketch program, where we did lots of sketches from loads and loads of scriptwriters used to send their material in, and then we'd make a choice, and then it was Miriam Margulies, Tracy Ullman, Ron Bain, and myself, basically, and Richard Stilgoe. I think the idea for the first series was that we were going to take Richard Stilgoe away from what he'd been doing before, and make him a bit more edgy, if you like. So that was part of it as well. But he was doing his thing, but Miriam, Tracy, Ron, and I were basically doing sketches, and I had a box of wigs and hair pieces, and was putting one on and sometimes two, so to play all these different characters basically.
You had a small appearance as the park warden who got into a fight with Kevin Turvey in The Man Behind the Green Door. Do you remember much from filming that?
I do. I remember. I remember particularly. I'd done this wonderful stage show called the Fosdyke Saga at the Bush, and we'd had a slow motion fight. And one of the best bits in it was when I got hold of my Philip Jackson's nose and pulled it back. And I remember suggesting that to Rick, and he went for that big time. So he said, let's do that. So that's how that got into the fight, because we thought that's tried and tested, that one. I said, this will get a laugh. And I remember that, yeah. And I remember doing it. It was a lot of fun. One of the things I have to say about all the stuff that I did with Rik and Ade, what I loved about it was there was never any danger that you were going to overplay it. And I loved that. I loved the energy. Nobody was asking me to underplay ever. That suited me down to the ground.
Fantastic.
Comes across in your performances, Roger. Fantastic.
Yeah, I used to. Oh, blimey, this is heaven. And then later on, the comedy turned, didn't it? It turned a corner, and but this wasn't. This was pre that.
Well, on that subject with overplaying characters, and the young ones, you managed to portray the most accurate and realistic depiction of a TV licensed Inspector Man that's ever been committed to screen, Mr. Right Bleeding Bastards. Yes. Was that based on any bastards in real life?
No, it wasn't actually. No, I remember thinking, well, this guy's got to be really out there, and given what I saw them doing, I thought actually you've got to have a go at kind of matching up to it, or being on top of it, seeing as I was, supposed to be a right bleeding bastard. I've got a funny story, but I once told this story on radio, and it brought the program to a halt because it was too early in the morning for it.
Please tell it. We're not too early.
You want to hear it? Oh, it was great. There's a very long escalator at Tottenham Court Road Underground Station, that goes up from the depths. And I was going up it, the only person around, and there was a bloke coming down the opposite way. Just as he got opposite me, he went, "Bastard!" I went, "What?" "What do you mean?" He said, "No, bastard, I've just been watching you, right bleeding bastard." I said, "Oh, nice, good, yeah," because it's back in the day of video.
Brilliant.
So he recognised you for your role, not your character, as in
Yes.
your
Yeah, he
personal
thought-
character. But
Yeah.
I was, yeah.
We like to ask, like, to fill in some of the blanks of the character's histories and stuff. I know you didn't write the part, but your character mentions that he killed his only friend. Do you have any theories on what happened there?
No, not at all. Sorry, I can't help you with that. I just thought it was a useful character pointer, that's for sure. So yeah, but I don't know how that happened. Sorry.
Well, this isn't a question, but I just need to sell you. Eat the telly is one of my all-time favourite lines delivered in all of comedy. Probably top 3 line. I used to quote that all the time as a kid.
Yes, it's a good one, isn't it? Yeah. Listen, I've got a few lines that I've always enjoyed, and another one was I did a kind of sci-fi spoofy thing once, and I was playing a policeman. I was saying, stand back, it's just a dead elf." Was like that one.
Do you enjoy playing characters who are a bit of a bastard quite a lot?
Yeah, I do actually. In fact, I've just played one and really enjoyed it. Diane Morgan has got a series called Mandy, which are 15-minute short, and I was thrilled to bits because she actually just wrote me a part. And it was one of these, really. They asked me to do a bit of publicity for them, and I did say I enjoy playing cracked authority figures. Yeah.
Do people often write you parts? Because you've got such a unique voice, Roger, that we wondered, like if people sort of go, right, I know exactly who to get for this.
As far as I know, as far as I know, this is the first one that's specifically been written for me. But I can tell you another funny story. Was a friend of mine said, this was back when I could have done with it. He said, I can't believe it. He said, I've just been up for an ad, a commercial. He said, and at the top it said, this is a Roger Sloman part. And I said, well, why did they ask me then? Why are they doing a casting? Why did they ask me if it's a Roger Sloman part?
You sure it didn't just say bastard at the top?
Yeah, that would have been useful, yeah.
But there are some similarities certainly between Right Being Bastard and Mr. Harrison.
Yes, yeah.
So we did wonder whether perhaps you'd been, cast for Bottom with that in mind, or you never heard of that.
I think they had that. I think they maybe saw that actually that can be done, and so we'll write another one. And then, of course, I was chuffed because I got to do a comb over, and I always like doing those, doing a Bobby Charlton, a bit seedy. This is good.
Yeah, it's an incredible characterisation.
It's a super comb over as well. It's so long.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, they were very good at the BBC with all their hair pieces and stuff. I used to enjoy it.
But it looked convincing, it could have been your own.
Yeah.
Is that an insult? I don't know.
No,
I just think it's so genuinely, believable as a comb over.
No, I'm definitely a member of the Bald Liberation Front. I mean, I went bald by the time I was 21, I think, so I spent the whole of the 60s without any hair, and so it got amusing for me because when I got to 30, some people started to lose their hair and were having grief. And of course, I used to enjoy it.
Yeah, it'll catch up to everyone in the end, I imagine. Yeah. So what were your thoughts when you first read the script for Bottom? It would have been the episode where you were letting them run the shop for you.
Yeah, I was thrilled. I mean, I was thinking about it before we did this, and there was a difference, When we did the first series, in particular of the young ones, the BBC were a bit jumpy about it. Paul Jackson was running up and down to the top office to quieten them down, because they weren't sure that this was, going to go, and then when they might be on dodgy territory. But by the time they got to do Bottom, it was tried and tested. They knew that they were onto a winner, and of course the big difference as well was that it was their vehicle. So the sort of whole atmosphere around it was very different.
But the dialogue that you're gifted as Mr. Harrison, did that leap out the page to you immediately? Do you remember reading the script? Or
I tell you, all of the stuff that I did with them, I was always totally happy with it. So I never rewrote anything, or I never thought, oh, that's a tricky line or anything. No, I mean, it was always a gift.
Did you get much in the way of direction from Rik or Ade in the way to play the character? You know, was there a sort of summation of the kind of man he was or anything?
No, they were always totally free. I don't remember anything like that, you know. No, it was all very free and easy. And
Rik and Ade trusted you to interpret the lines in your own inimitable way.
I think so. I think they did. Yeah, I don't remember ever, you know, anything. No, I don't remember getting any. No, just let me go.
Fantastic. No holding back.
No.
And what do you remember from during filming on both episodes, from the Christmas special and also the shop one? Do you have any?
The thing that I remember mostly was I still find it remarkable to this day, really, is that, you know, Rik in particular, he's out there, you know, doing that, what he does right on the edge, you know, and Ade is as well, you know, and technically, you know, that can be very difficult, because you can actually drop off the edge, you know, and say, oh no, sorry, I've lost it. And they never did. And I always used to be kind of slightly really impressed by it, actually. You know? And I mean, if you follow through, I mean, what he did, that character that he plays in Blackadder, you know, I mean, that's incredible, the way he keeps up that level
energy,
you know, that energy. It's a huge skill, you know.
And I mean, we've heard previously from other people who've interviewed that Rik was actually quite nervous before filming. Was that?
Yeah, there was a difference, actually. It was very interesting. I do remember, actually, there was a huge difference in the makeup room and in the green room between Rik and Ade. I mean, Rik would be bouncing off the walls, and Ade would be much quieter. But I mean, a different approach. You know, you know yourself, and you know what you do in order to get ready to do what you've got to do. I mean, Ade would then go from being very quiet to going on and being manic. You know, but he wasn't manic before we actually got on.
Whereas Rik's energy was there.
Yeah. I mean, he would be firing up all cylinders. Yes. Yeah.
They say to use your nerves as energy, though, don't they, into your performance? Yeah. And boy, did Rik do that. Yeah.
And of course, you know, every performer's different, and you kind of learn what's your best approach. And sometimes you don't want to be around that energy before you go on, because that might tip you see. So you have to say, oh, yeah, that's right, that's going on. And yeah.
Were you more quiet then? Were you more of a quiet, bit more like Ade?
I was. Oh yes, I couldn't have done that. I mean, I can't. I learned something when I was at drama school about that, and that is I was playing a character in Chekhov called the Bear, who's terribly angry, and I got myself so wound up that I went on, said 2 lines and fainted. And then I managed to recover and did the whole of this 1-act play in a complete fug, but I learned a lesson.
Don't go too method.
Don't go too far, yeah.
What are your thoughts on the characters that Rik and Ade played, Richie and Eddie? They're quite sort of grotesque characters for a primetime BBC sitcom. What did you think of those? They were sort of also extensions of the roles they'd previously played in the Young Ones and Dangerous Brothers and that kind of thing. What do you think of the characters?
Well, I think all this was. I think it was all groundbreaking. I don't think anything had not been seen before. I mean, I suppose you could say Monty Python had already been on and been some way towards that, except that I think there was there's that great clip which you've seen, I know, which is of them coming out and doing their warm up and saying all the swear words that we can't say in in the program. And I think they got a step further than Monty Python. And I think that was, I think the Young Ones kind of started it, and then they took it another step forward.
Do you recall if there was any response to the show from the BBC or from audience or anything like that? Did you get much feedback on, after you'd appeared on it?
I think the audience did. I think the audience loved it. I mean, I think the live audience absolutely, were right on board. They really loved it. I mean, there wasn't. I mean, I used to do so many sitcoms, and sometimes they get bogged down, with technical, and then the warm-up man would be desperately trying to keep them, entertained, so we could get back at the same level, and it didn't happen. And I don't remember that happening when we were doing Bottom.
Obviously, you were in 2 episodes across 2 of the series. Was there ever any talk of having Mr. Harrison back for the 3rd series in another capacity?
No, I don't remember that. I mean, I suppose there is a small bit of me that thinks it would have been a gas to go on the tour. I think I wouldn't have. That would have been fun, wouldn't it? Yeah. But no, it didn't. No, that.
I imagine the cheer that would have gone up in venues when Mr. Harrison suddenly burst through a door.
Yeah,
that would have been amazing.
Yeah, that would have been all right. Yeah, I wouldn't have minded that, because they pay to quite a few people, and I think it might have been a gas actually.
Yeah. Did you know when you did the first appearance that there would be another one in the down the line, or no? You just thought it was a one-off? Yeah.
No, just thought it was a one-off. I mean, I think over the years I kind of learned that sometimes in looking back you can reinvent what it was actually like and think, oh yeah, you knew this was gonna, but you didn't.
Another question about the character's life and stuff, this time Mr. Harrison. Can you fill in some of the blanks, completely up to you, of what you feel Mr. Harrison's life was like apart from the Richie and Eddie stuff? What do you think he got up to before and after his interactions with those two?
I remember thinking, oh, this is very close to a few of the CD landlords that I've known in my life, I remember going back over some of the weird characters that I came across when I was a student and beyond, and using all of those outside of it, and all the kind of penny pinching and treating tenants badly and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
So continuity was never really something Rik and Ade worried about with their show. There's something that's bugged us a little bit with the fact that in previous episodes, Richie explains that it's his auntie's flat and Eddie owes him rent. Then there's a landlord who wants the rent for those two. Do you think Mr. Harrison was secretly having off with the auntie and collecting the rent on her behalf? What do you think happened there?
I really don't know about that. I'm sorry, I couldn't help you. But I can understand that it would be a talking point. Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't help you with that. Sorry.
I would think just, imagination-wise, we can just say that Richie's auntie and Mr. Harrison were...
fair enough. Yeah.
Well, in the same vein though, just while we're on Mr. Harrison, I mean, he hated his mother. Have you rewatched, or do you remember the lines you got given about Mr. Harrison's mum?
I tell you what, I knew we were going to do this, and I couldn't actually find the episodes, to have a look at. So if you can send me, they don't seem to be on YouTube. So
okay,
they took them off Netflix, bastards.
Yeah,
used to be on there.
Yeah, they were on there. Very recent.
There are places where they are. I'll send you the links to them so you can have a rewatch. But Holy does get repeated quite a lot at Christmas by the BBC.
Oh, right.
Is that sort of heaven sent in terms of residual checks popping through the door?
It's about the. They're all just about the same, actually. I mean, I'm kind of blessed because I've got a lot of ones which are steady. You know what I mean? And you get and they're all just about the same. You don't get. I mean, in terms of checks, the one that did get repeated usually was Mr. Bean, because it got
worldwide,
and there's no language difficulty, and it was 10 ships in the Atlantic Ocean and all the rest of it, So yeah.
And do you ever get fans then shouting lines at you? I mean, obviously you've mentioned the bastard line, but have you ever had any bottom lines thrown at you, or go to bed spotty, or anything like that?
I think I did some time ago, but no, not recently. No.
It's been a little while. Well, I'd love to ask you to call me a car. Like, that's one that I absolutely love. Just like literally calling his own mum a car.
Dead mum.
Did you keep in touch with Rik and Ade after Bottom?
I kind of lost touch with them a little bit, really. I used to bump into Ade, and I bump into them sometimes in the BBC bar. You know, if I was doing something else, and everybody would be in the bar after that. I bumped into them once or twice. But no, I mean, I bumped into Ade once when I was on holiday down in Dorset. But no, we didn't actually keep in touch.
Fair enough. I mean, it's been 30 years since the show was born this year. Are you surprised that people are still talking about Bottom?
Wow. I mean, and not only Bottom, but also all the other programs which seem to be remembered. You know, I mean, I'm sort of gobsmacked by how Nuts in May, you know, is being watched by young people now, you know, and has become sort of iconic. And but I mean, it's kind of funny because, you know, you nicely went through the list of things that I've done, but you know, people say, "Oh, well, can you tell me what I've seen you in?" It's a long list, you know.
Yeah, Matt barely had a chance to take a breath reading through.
I skipped a bunch as well. There's
You go on IMDb, you know, and my list is a bit long, man. Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned Nuts in May there, which is something, of course, people are still talking about and enjoying today, and Bottom as well. Something else that you, as well as being in my favourite comedy, you were also in one of my very favourite dramas of the 90s when you appeared in Cracker.
Yeah.
In a very harrowing, gripping storyline.
Yeah.
What was it like joining such an iconic and great show for those episodes? That must have been great as an actor.
It was great because it was a great script. But I'll tell you why it was kind of an interesting experience the way that the years passed, really. Because for me, I'd done Kick Up the 80s with Robbie, you know, and that was Robbie then. And then you fast forward to him being established as Cracker, you know, and he'd grown into kind of major star in a drama, and that was terrific to see. Yeah, but I can tell you something, actually. Robbie is phenomenal, a phenomenal thing where he could like talk and be funny right up until you were doing the take, you know. and then what? Yeah. And you would not know that anything, you know what I mean? Which was really quite extraordinary, actually.
Turn on, like, get into the character just like that, and then come out.
Absolutely straight in. Yeah.
Do you find you had to stay in your role as a bastard for the whole duration of the filming on set then, or could you turn it on and turn it off?
No, I think you have to play your own game and not think I can do that, because you might come a cropper.
And in terms of TV comedy, is there anything on TV now that you particularly enjoy?
Well, as a matter of fact, we watch a lot of American comedy on Netflix, and we like a lot of those. You know, I've liked Schitt's Creek, I've liked Modern Family, and there's another one which is, you know, A Family in Four Pieces or something like that. You know, I like a lot of those. Yeah.
So you don't watch much British comedy now, or just the American?
Not so much. I'll be honest. I'll be honest. The change that happened with underplaying with The Office, sort of, it never went my way. I've never kind of been, you know, a big fan of that. You know.
Do you feel like the British comedy's lost something slightly by since shows like The Young Ones and Bottom? There's not a lot of physical comedy on television.
No.
Is that something we feel an absence of?
For me, I suppose, because that's sort of my taste, and you know, and I think so. I've hugely enjoyed doing this Mandy with Diane Morgan, who was terrific and generous, and you know, nobody was saying hold back, you know, as well. So I thought, hello, I'm back where I belong, you know. So that's been terrific. And I did enjoy Motherland. I enjoyed that very much. I like that.
There's this hyper real scenarios now that seems to be the taste, but I do think there's still room for the exaggeration within that. I think it. Yeah. As you say, it just has to be written and it has to be allowed to play out. And things have definitely changed over the years. I mean, we obviously have got a love for Bottom, and like that's what shaped our Funny Bones. But when you were growing up, what sort of shows did you watch? Would it have been Steptoe and Son and those?
All of those, shows? Yeah. Hancock's Half Hour, Steptoe and Son, some mothers do have them. I used to watch and all of those ones, and yeah.
Fantastic shows. Ade's previously joked that he and Rick basically ripped off Galton and Simpson by writing Bottom. Did you ever chat to Rick and or Ade about their respect for Galton and Simpson's partnership?
I don't remember doing that. No, but they, oh my God, they were absolutely brilliant. Yeah, and those comedy. I tell you one thing that I have thought over the years is that, you know, back when they were doing those, like Dad's Army, you know, if you look at the cast of Dad's Army, all of those people, they learnt their craft in variety, a lot of them, and a lot of them have done a lot of theatre comedy and stuff like that. And they brought all that to it, you know, and I think it showed. I mean, those guys in Dad's Army were absolutely brilliant. I mean, that is one of my favourite comedies, actually. I just love it.
Dad's Army is fantastic, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, many British comedies like Hancock's Half Hour and Steptoe Son and Bottom, class is a running theme. Why do you think it is that class plays such a crucial role in British comedy?
Oh, because we're obsessed with it. It runs through. I mean, because we've got a monarchy, and then it goes down from there. And it's not classless now, but it used to be much more openly apparent than it is now. I mean, when I was growing up in the 50s, cut it with a knife. Everybody was very well aware of everybody's nuance of accent, and, you know, anything that was a slight indication of what class you belonged to. And then the 60s happened, and it became fashionable to have a Cockney accent, and so the public school boys started to do a Cockney accent, and, you know, but it never really went away, did it? And we seem to have a habit of public school boys being prime ministers, you know, so what's changed?
Absolutely. I mean, in Nuts and May, of course, there's that fantastic scene where you end up having the fight with the guy on the motorbike and in the other tent and everything. I mean, that was a lesson in different class and different tensions.
Yeah, because Keith and Candice Marie lived a life where they didn't rub up against these people. So, you know, how do you deal with people like that?
The play for today that Nuts in May was, I mean, it's a fantastic thing. Do you think, again, we're kind of missing that sort of drama on telly now, or do you think it was of its time?
Yeah, because there used to be Play for Today, you know, which went out every Wednesday, you know, and now the kind of product is so wide ranging. People could watch so much now on all the different channels, whereas you know, back then people used to go into work and talk about the Wednesday Play for Today and what was on, because they only had 3-4 channels, you know, to watch. So yeah, and yeah, I mean, when I talk to my friends, you know, who are in the same game and have been, I went out with a couple of chums last week, you know, and we had a drink, and you know, saying, God, we were lucky. My generation of actors, I think, were lucky to have been around and you know, during that time.
You've played a huge variety of great roles over the years. Would you describe yourself as a character actor?
I suppose I would, yeah. I suppose in the old sense, it's a great thing when you do in Spotlight, you know, is it leading actor or character actor, you know, and yeah. Oh, I remember early on there was a wonderful actor called Brian Pringle, you know, and we were having a laugh, and he said, yeah, we're all character men here, you know. I think, yeah, that's it.
And out of everything that you've played, is there one that you sort of hold as your favorite?
No, well, I owe a great deal in terms of my career to Keith in Nuts in May, because it became for me a kind of calling card, you know, and I got a lot of people came looking for me because of that. So, you know, I owe a huge debt to Mike Lee and to Nuts in May in terms of my career.
Did you audition for that, Roger, or were you offered the part? How did that come about?
No, I tell you what happened there. What happened was Mike Lee was doing a play. He was offered a play upstairs at the Royal Court, and he got 3 actors together, Alison Steadman, myself, and Geoffrey Hutchings. And we did this play, which was called Wholesome Glory. And Keith and Candice Marie were in this play. And the plot of it was that basically it was a Sunday afternoon, and they'd invited his brother around for this awful afternoon where he had to listen to them singing songs and doing their poetry and stuff like that. And the audience used to grit their teeth and look at it through their fingers, because it was funny, but it was also agonizing as well. So Mike Leigh knew that he was onto something. So when he got the opportunity through David Rose at Pebble Mill to do a play for today, he brought back Keith and Candice Marie. So that's how that started.
Do you have a preference between comedy and drama?
Well, not really. I like doing both. I'm sort of happy that I suppose I've got some funny bones. I mean, which has been a kind of blessing, really, over the years. I'm always comfortable doing comedy.
We're very glad that you've got those funny bones and have brought them to a lot of our favourite comedies.
You make it look effortless. You really do, Roger. In all of your performances in The Young Ones at Bottom and across, it's.
Thanks very much.
And we'll just finish by asking, what are you working on at the moment? Is there anything you can share with us that you've got coming up?
Well, I've got this Mandy, which is the second series. I think it's episode 4, but that might change. But it's the one which is called Mandy Goes on a Cruise, and I am the purser in it when she goes on a cruise. I've got that. I've also got a short film that I'm about to do at the end of this month. So that's another thing, but I don't know when that's coming out.
Do you have a comb over in either of these performances?
I don't, but I could have done. I could have got a comb over as the purser. That was an idea.
Fantastic. Well, we'll look forward to watching that. And thank you very much for joining us here today, Roger.
It's been fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Bye now. Bye.
Bye.
Take care. All the best.
Thanks.